Hey guys, welcome to the September edition of Monthly Dose of J-Pop, where I talk about notable J-Pop and anime song news over the past month, and songs I've been listening to. September was pretty eventful. The Chainsaw Man movie came out in Japan, and alongside it, Yonezu Kenshi's 2 new songs, which I'll dive into in a second. We also got to talk about a few big names going to next year's Coachella. One of the all-time great girl groups, Perfume, is coming to an end, and more news involving Ado, YOASOBI, Togenashi Togeari, and Music Awards Japan 2026. Quite a lot to cover, so let's just jump right in. Yonezu Kenshi's new song, Iris Out, which is the theme song for the Chainsaw Man movie, Reze, has broken almost every possible streaming record in Japan. Before the song was even released, we already got snippets of it from the movie's trailers and PVs, and it sounded amazing. Adding the fact that Kickback from Chainsaw Man Season 1 is the biggest Japanese song ever outside of Japan. It got a gold certification in the US in 2023, and a platinum certification only this September. Iris Out is easily the most hyped song of 2025, but its performance on music charts so far has gone above and beyond expectations. It has the most first-day streams on Spotify for any song in Japanese history, overtaking Butter by BTS, and that came out a while ago. Iris Out also became the #1 song in most categories on Billboard Japan. It's not a surprise, but it did so by having the highest combined points in Japanese history. The song also climbed to #5 on Billboard Global, the highest for any Japanese song, so higher than Idol and Bling Bang Bang Born ever got to. To be honest, I did not see this coming. Both Lisa and Ame had their chances to make another massive hit with Infinity Castle, considering it now has the second highest box office in Japanese history, and it's one of the highest grossing films of 2025. But both of their songs kind of became an afterthought despite the movie's record-breaking success. Chainsaw Man may have overtaken Demon Slayer at the Japanese weekly box office, but it's highly unlikely to end up as big as Demon Slayer. So why the frenzy? How did Iris Out become the hottest Japanese song ever? Well, it could be because Iris Out is an excellent and catchy song. Or maybe not. I mean, I like it. But it's not, at least for me, not his best song. Or even the best anime song of 2025. So it could simply be because he is Yonezu Kenshi. And he is singing the theme song of one of the most popular anime right now. In terms of volume of releases, Yonezu hasn't been as active since 2020. But he was dominating the Japanese mainstream and anime music scene in the late 2010s. And after finally releasing a new album last year, he is officially back in full force. Plasma and Bow and Arrow are both chart-topping singles he released this year, and now, Iris Out. And I haven't even talked about Jane Doe, the ending theme of the Chainsaw Man movie. I couldn't believe my eyes when I read that Utada Hikaru, the best-selling Japanese singer, is collaborating with Yonezu Kenshi. Utada Hikaru is one of the most influential singers in modern J-pop. Many of the singers, especially female singers who came out in the last decade, were inspired by her and Shinaringo. Jane Doe is definitely my preferred song out of the two, but it's obviously not as popular as Iris Out simply because of the nature of the music, but it's still at the top of most music charts alongside it. Alright, move on to the next news. Fujii Kaze released his new album, Prima. Being his highly anticipated third album, unsurprisingly, it reached the #1 spot on many album charts in Japan. I won't talk too much about the album itself because honestly, I'm still quite torn about whether it's even J-pop. I will say that I did find it better than I expected. However, I just can't help but go back to his first album, which is still, in my opinion, superior. I also want to mention that I recently got to talk to Christine Therese, who is a writer for the LA Times. We had a conversation about Fujii Kaze's career and his new album. She also interviewed him in person when he was in the US, and wrote an amazing article on him, which you can now read online. I will leave its link down in the description. You should also keep a lookout for any future articles she may be writing on Japanese artists, or if you're a fan of K-pop as well, that's definitely her forte. We're not quite done with Fujii Kaze yet because he and CreepyNuts are officially going to Coachella 2026. Not exactly the best lineup in the history of Coachella, but I will be keeping an eye out for the boys from Japan, Little Sims, and Big Bang. For Fujii Kaze and CreepyNuts, they will be following the footsteps of XG, the only Japanese artist to have a full performance in 2025. So far, there are only 3 girl groups to have attended Coachella: XG in 2025, Atarashi Gakko in 2024, and Perfume in 2019. Perfume is one of the longest active girl groups ever. They made their major debut in 2005, and for the past 2 decades, they have been one of the most successful girl groups. but they recently made a surprise announcement that the group will go on hiatus starting from 2026. It's kind of to be expected considering how long they've been together, but still, really sad when it actually happens. They're one of the artists that I grew up with, and many of their songs are deeply embedded in my core memory, but they did leave the window open for a future return, so I'll hold on to that hope. Next up is Ado. We love Ado here, and she has released my most anticipated song from her in nearly 2 years, The Story of Wind and I. Now I will save this to the end of the video, because, spoiler alert, this is one of my most listened to songs recently. Moving on, Togenashi Togeari made their first ever trip to Budokan, the dream of all Japanese artists, both in real life and in anime. They also announced an original movie for girls band Cry, so not the usual compilation movie, but an actual new story. The release date has yet to be announced. Next up is YOASOBI. They recently announced that they'll be providing the theme song for the anime adaptation of Hanazakari no Kimidachi-e, a popular shoujo manga from the early 2000s, which was then turned into live-action TV shows in 2007 and 2011. Basically, it's the childhood of many people who grew up in the 2000s and early 2010s. The 2007 version will forever be one of my favorite shows ever. The cast, music, and theme song are just absolutely perfect. So yes, I will be tuning in when it comes out in 2026. YOASOBI's releases in the past few years have been a bit safe and similar in my opinion. They're definitely one of my favorite, so I'll be interested to see if they'll step out of their comfort zone a bit. And for the final topic, Music Awards Japan is officially coming back in 2026. I talked about the things I liked and things I didn't like that much in the video a while ago, and so far, it seems like they're not afraid to make changes to the ceremony. They're moving the venue from Kyoto to Tokyo in 2026, so the scale of the event will be even bigger this time around. And we'll learn more about it as we get closer to the second ever Music Awards Japan, which I expect to be held around May 2026. Alright, time for the songs I've been listening to recently. At number 5 is Ichi ni Tsuite by Aimyon. Aimyon has been the definition of mainstream female singer-songwriter since her biggest hit, Marigold. The word mainstream comes in as both good and bad. Aimyon is able to regularly make songs that are specifically modified to suit Japanese dramas as their theme song, while also catering to the general audience. Not too dramatic or provocative, but also pleasing and harmonious, making them easy to listen to and enjoy. So the upside is that her music is consistently good, almost never disappoints. But the downside is that her music becomes a bit too mellow and consistent, especially compared to her earlier works. Ichi ni Tsuite follows that theme. It's not groundbreaking or much different from her songs from 5 years ago, but it just hits the right spot. At number 4 is Jane Doe by Yonezu Kenshi and Utada Hikaru. As I mentioned, this is one of the craziest collaborations I can think of. Another one would be Utada Hikaru and Shinarinko. That was really something else. Somehow it always involves Utada Hikaru. Perhaps she'll collaborate with Ado one day. Back to the song. The music, production, and the duet between Yonezu Kenshi and Utada Hikaru are simply supreme. Every single time I listen to it, which is quite a lot, it still never ceases to amaze me. At number 3 is Akai Wine ni Namida Ga by Brandy Senki. Since making their debut, Brandy Senki has quickly become one of my favorite bands. For a band that has only been around for 3 years, their music and lead singer Hazuki's vocals are unusually polished. I'm very excited to see where they go next after releasing their first album only this May. At number 2 is The Story of Wind and I by Ado. The Story of Wind and I is the theme song for the sequel to The Silent Service. There are 2 reasons why this was my most anticipated Ado song in 2 years. First, it was 2 years ago when Ado provided the theme song for the first The Silent Service movie. I was dying for that song to drop when it was first announced, because it was made by Bizu. Eventually, it materialized in the form of Dignity, which did end up as my all-time favorite Ado song. The second reason is that this song was made by Miyamoto Hiroji. He is a legendary rocker from the 90s, and the song was arranged by Mafu Mafu, one of Ado's idols. The Story of Wind and I is such a good song. You can hear the influence of Miyamoto from the very first line. The lyrics and Ado's singing, just beautiful. I sincerely believe Ado is at her best when paired with songwriters with a rock background. They just know how to bring the most out of her. You might be thinking, if I love the song so much, why isn't it at number 1? Well, given time it might. But now, my number 1 song is Shura by Yorushika. Well, what can I say? Nabana is just an absolute genius of a songwriter, and Sui always brings his lyrics to life perfectly. Haru already brought home my Song of the Year in 2024, and, well, it's a high possibility that Yorushika will make it 2 years in a row. This has been Cushion. See you next time.